everyone, today I'm going to read a book called Kensuke's Kingdom by Morpurgo, a story about a boy who gets lost at sea. Now, one of my biggest fears is getting lost at sea because it is so huge and unknown. Although the ocean covers more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface, only 20% of it is charted. We know probably more about the moon's surface than we know about our own oceans. So when I first picked up this book, I was quite intrigued because the book is about an 11-year-old boy who travels around the world with his parents and his dog called Stella on a ship called Pegasus. Sadly, one night he falls overboard and gets lost at sea. So now I'm going to read from page 40, when Michael falls overboard. July 28th. I look around me. It's dark night. No moon, no stars. But it's calm again, at last. I'll be 12 tomorrow, but I don't think anyone except me will remember it. We had a terrible time, far worse, even then in the Bay of Biscay. Ever since we left Sydney, it's been just storm after storm, and each one blows us further north across the Coral Sea. The rudder cable has snapped. Dad's done what he can, but it's still not right. The self-steering doesn't work anymore, so someone's got to be at the wheel all the time, and that means Dad or me, because Mum is sick. It's her stomach cramps again, but they're a lot worse. She doesn't want to eat at all. All she has is sugared water. She hasn't been able to look at the charts for 3 days. Dad wants to put out a mayday call, but Mum won't let him. She says that's giving in, and she's never giving in. Dad and I have been doing the navigation together. We've been doing our best, but I don't think we know where we are anymore. They're both asleep down below. Dad's really wiped out. I'm at the wheel in the cockpit. I've got Eddie's football with me. It's been lucky for us so far, and now we really need it. We need Mum to get better, or we're in real trouble. I don't know if we could stand another storm. Thank God it's calm. It will help Mum to sleep. You can't sleep when you're being slammed about all the time. It is so dark out there. Black. Stella's barking. She's up by the bow. She hasn't got her harness clipped on. Those were the last words I ever wrote in my log. After that, it's just empty pages. I tried calling Stella first, but she wouldn't come, so I left the wheel and went forward to bring her back. I took the ball with me to sweeten her in, to tempt her away from the bow of the boat. I crouched down. "Come on, Stella," I said, rolling the ball from hand to hand. "Come and get the ball." I felt the boat turn a little in the wind, and I knew then I shouldn't have left the wheel. The ball rolled away from me quite suddenly. I lunged after it, but it was gone over the side before I could grab it. I lay there on the deck, watching it bob away into the darkness. I was furious with myself for being so silly. I was still cursing myself when I thought I heard the sound of singing. Someone was singing out there in the darkness. I called out, but no one replied. So that was what Stella had been barking at. I looked again for my ball, but by now it had disappeared. The ball had been very precious to me, precious to all of us. I knew then I had just lost a great deal more than a football. I was angry with Stella. The whole thing had been her fault. She was still barking. I couldn't hear the singing anymore. I called her again, whistled her in. She wouldn't come. I got to my feet and went forward. I took her by the collar and pulled. She would not be moved. I couldn't drag her all the way back, so I bent down to pick her up. She was still reluctant. Then I had her in my arms, but she was struggling. I heard the wind above me in the sails. I remember thinking, this is silly. You haven't got your safety harness on. You haven't got your life jacket on. You shouldn't be doing this. Then the boat veered violently and I was thrown sideways. With my arms full, I had no time to grab the guardrail. We were in the cold of the sea before I could even open my mouth to scream. Okay, so that's Michael in the water and Stella. But I'm going to continue reading chapter 4. Chapter 4, Gibbons and Ghosts. The terrors came fast, one upon another. The lights of the Pegasus went away into the dark of the night, leaving me alone in the ocean, alone with the certainty that they were already too far away, that my cries for help could not possibly be heard. I thought then of the sharks cruising the black water beneath me, scenting me, already searching me out, homing in on me, and I knew there could be no hope. I'd be eaten alive. Either that or I would drown slowly. Nothing could save me. I trod water frantically, searching the impenetrable darkness about me for something, anything to swim towards. There was nothing. Then a sudden glimpse of white in the sea, the breaking of a wave perhaps, but there were no wave. Stella! It had to be. I was so thankful, so relieved not to be all alone. I called out and swam towards her. She would keep bobbing away from me, vanishing, reappearing, then vanishing again. She had seemed so near, but it took several minutes of hard swimming before I came close enough to reach out and touch her. Only then did I realize my mistake. Stella's head was mostly black. This was white. It was my football. I grabbed it and clung on, feeling the unexpected and wonderful buoyancy of it. I held on, treading water and calling for Stella. There was no answer. I called and I called, but every time I opened my mouth now, the seawater washed in. I had to give her up. I had to save myself if I could. There was little point in wasting energy by trying to swim. After all, I had nowhere to swim to. Instead, I would simply float. I would cling to my football, tread water gently, and wait for the peg Sue to come back. Sooner or later, they had to discover I was overboard. Sooner or later, they would come looking for me. I mustn't kick too much, just enough to keep my chin above the water, no more. Too much movement would attract the sharks. Morning must come soon. I had to hang on till then. I had to. The water wasn't that cold. I had my football. I had a chance. I kept telling myself that over and over again, but the world stayed stubbornly black about me, and I could feel the water slowly chilling me to death. I tried singing to stop myself from shivering, to take my mind off the sharks. I sang every song I could remember, but after a while I forgot the words. Always I came back to the only song I was sure I could finish, 10 Green Bottles. I sang it out loud again and again. It reassured me to hear the sound of my own voice. It made me feel less alone in the sea. And always I looked for the grey glint of dawn, but it would not come, and it would not come. Eventually I fell silent, and my legs just would not kick anymore. I clung to my football, my head drifting into sleep. I knew I mustn't, but I couldn't help myself. My hands kept slipping off the ball. I was fast losing the last of my strength. I could go down to the bottom of the sea, and lie in my grave amongst the seaweed and the sailors' bones and the shipwrecks. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I want you to read this book if you haven't, because it is very interesting. Okay, thank you for listening.